So, Selector spread WIXOSS finally comes to an end. This is the final episode of the series, and honestly, I'm satisfied. Like, it's incredibly shocking, but it was a very satisfying ending. I mean, of course it didn't answer everything I wanted, for instance, what I pointed out last week, but for the most part, this ending was decent. I can accept this ending, and this ending was enjoyable. So, this final episode of Selector Spread WIXOSS, overall, it's been fun. Like, this episode was fun, and overall, the journey of this series has been very fun. And that's one thing I will never forget. I mean, it's hard to believe how much entertainment value this series has actually given me. I mean, I walked into this series not expecting something good at all. I didn't. And this has given me more enjoyment than I ever expected. And honestly, Selector Spread WIXOSS and Infected WIXOSS is by far one of the best series of this year. One of them. Even with this ending that kind of fell short from the overall real potential it had, it was a good and decent ending from some series I have seen this year. I mean, the only problem I could see from this ending is that it has so much potential. Selector Spread WIXOSS has so much potential. Like, the overall story aspect of the series, it had so much more it could have had. Like, I mean, you had it to where the entire tower bit with how, like, supposedly it was affecting the real world could have affected the entire world, and Mayu's, you know, like, entire world could have went to the real world, to the entire aspect with finding out more about Mayu. Finding out why she died, like, who was the, like, parents of her, like, why was she in that room, why was she stuck in that room? I mean, there's just so many questions that technically were not answered, and it does add up to say, like, the overall ending conclusion fell short. It fell and tripped right before the finish line. But even though it did that, I can't put down the series for, like I said, the entertainment value it has brought me. Like I said, I never expected the entertainment value I've gotten from this series, and it's done way more than enough than I ever expected. And honestly, I couldn't ask for any more. I mean, it did pretty much a decent ending. I mean, it wrapped up pretty much the main in-game goal, you know, having all the girls stuck in the cards come back to the real bodies, and the conclusion with Mayu shutting down the overall other dimension pretty much got concluded with that. Found out about the white room and, you know, Mayu inside the room. I mean, the main important questions got answered. The only thing that really would probably be, like, left unanswered is the little things that, you know, just had a lot of potential to grow. And that is the only downside of the series, honestly. That is really the only downside. And the only thing, really, I could say that I wish this series did more, though, was the card game aspect. I mean, the card game aspect was never really one of the main focuses of Selector Spread or Selector Infected WIXOSS. It was never the real main focus. It was always with the characters, their mindset, their perspective on life or whatever their wish is, and also the psychological, you know, drama and stuff building up through the series. It was never really focused on the card game, but I felt like, you know, if the card game would have gotten fleshed out a lot more, it would have been really satisfying and enjoyable even more than it was. But I'm guessing the reason why whatever anime studio or the scriptwriter, whoever that made Selector Infected and Selector Spread WIXOSS, the reason why they probably cut out the card game aspect so much was probably because they didn't want, like, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ripoff or something. I'm willing to bet something like that. They didn't want this series to be judged as, like, something that is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ripoff. So that probably might be the reason why Selector has, like, no card game features. Like, we didn't get real in-depth with the card game. But besides that little aspect, the episode's conclusion, for the most part, it wraps up all the little subplots. I mean, we don't really get to find out what was going down between Yuzuki. We don't, and her brother. We don't find out exactly how that went with the romance. That was never really went in depth with by the end of this episode. So, it's left hanging, and we're just guessing, like, did they get the, you know, the brother-sister route, the romance route? Did that happen? We don't know. Also, the entire aspect with, you know, Akira. I mean, we can assume at the end of this episode, because we get to see Iona and Akira in the magazine together, and, you know, things are progressing, but it's never really stated, like, how they got together, or how, you know, they grew a bond again. It was never really went in depth with, so overall, the ending felt rushed. It really was a rushed ending. There's no denying it. I mean, we understand what was going on in the ending. I completely understand all the characters pretty much that has either disappeared or, you know, became a card. We got to see their ending conclusion with this episode, and it was really nice. But, I mean, I wish that this, you know, overall ending section of the series would have taken longer. Like, you know, fleshed out what these girls were doing or what they're going to do with their life now after this point. Stuff like that. I want to know more about that. I mean, there had to have been some massive change for Akira to get back to Iona. I mean, especially a different Iona. So, overall, that aspect, it's there. It's disappointing, but it's nothing too bad. Now, the aspect of Tama at the end of this episode. At the end, directly at the end, before the episode completely just cuts off, you see Tama on the rooftop, and you hear the music. The music's badass, by the way. You hear the music, and you see Tama smiling, and it's implied that Tama has been reborn into the world. It's implied that, but we don't know. We don't 100% know if Tama really got born back into the real world, or even Yuki got born back into the real world. We can assume that, but we have no idea. And also, with that aspect, we don't even really know what happened to Mayu. I mean, we could assume she moved on to the afterlife because of the symbolism of the butterflies. For instance, you know, the black and white butterflies flying through the window. That could probably symbolize that she, you know, moved on. But, I don't know. They never really explained that either. So, a lot of unanswered questions, but what can I say? I mean, like I said, this series gave me a lot more than I ever expected. It was decent, and I mean, I got enough enjoyment out of it, and would I recommend this series to all to watch? Oh, fuck yes. Yes. I would definitely recommend Selector Spread and Selector Infected WIXOSS to a bunch of people. I mean, seriously, this series is a must-watch. I mean, from an anime original perspective, this series was really fucking damn nice. It really was. It was a really damn good series, and I will not, you know, put it down for that. It's done a damn good job for 2 seasons. Hopefully, one day, if there ever is a chance, we might get a Season 3, but I don't know. One thing before I conclude my finale on reviewing Selector, that Ulif scene, like, oh my god, she got fucking crunched, like, dude, what the fuck, dude, like, everybody had a happy ending besides her, like, she got crunched, like, dude, like, did you hear the screams in this? I was like, dude, that's dark as fuck, dude. Like, you hear her screaming, the bones cracking, and then you just see her arm dangling out there lifelessly. I'm like, whoa. So, overall, I guess satisfying. I guess I couldn't ask for any more. Tell me your thoughts. I mean, how do you feel about the series? I mean, I know there's a lot of unanswered things. I know for a fact there is. I mean, I mentioned it all last week, but we gotta roll with it. If I was to rate this series, honestly, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Or an 8. It's 7 or 8 out of 10. I mean, it was good. It would definitely be a 9 or 9.5 if it would have answered all my questions I would have had, but sadly it did not. And, yeah. So, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.